All right, so I just got done with the factor cap video on Deebo Samuel and the trade rumors, terrible stuff with the Patriots. And Mike told me that the comment section was a little bit upset that they thought that the live would be longer. Factor cap is going to be a quick series. It's going to be quick videos. Maybe I shouldn't have made it live, but here's a Q&A, and this could be a little bit longer. So fire up your 49ers questions. We're going to keep this nice and casual. It was one of the slowest 49ers news days of the past couple years today. Absolutely nothing new came out on the 49ers front, but and I don't count this Deebo Samuel garbage as news, obviously. Maybe that's why it came out today, because people were looking for a little bit more engagement, although it came from the Boston side. So who knows? Factor cap, that was definitely cap. And we ended the video with that. Probably have many more of those videos over the course of this offseason because we know that those rumors are coming. I put up the brace yourselves piece. That's right here. This is definitely going to be the case. Brace yourselves. Absurd 49ers rumors are coming, and maybe I should brace myself now because some questions are coming. I'm sure they're all going to be really, really good, though. So without further ado, let's get into the comment section. Nothing happened last stream. That duck is going to tell us when something is cap. It's one of the funniest memes I've ever seen on the internet. I could play it right now while we're waiting for some questions to filter in. Let's do it. Those wondering what the duck is about, when we're not sure, or no, when we know that something is a lie, when we know something is cap, this is what's going to play.
A-P. Cap.
There you go. That's in reference to the Deebo Samuel Patriots trade rumors. Now we're going to go to some questions. Jacoby Brissett as that QB veteran. Yeah, well, I mean, it's Brissett, Andy Dalton. You think of Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy might be a little bit too expensive. The 49ers have to fit somebody within their cap structure, but there will be a veteran that they add. And I think that there's going to be a rookie that they add as well. I've got a big board coming out with Matt Barrows tomorrow, draft big board. So that we'll talk about who the 49ers might select come April/May. You know, Jake Haener out of Fresno State is a player that I really like as far as toughness goes. And I think that Kyle Shanahan would really like that. A lot of Brock Purdy comparisons with Jake Haener, and Brock Purdy comparisons are a good thing. So same kind of questions here. Realistic QB options to add to this roster via free agency. Well, I mean, you could start with somebody like Teddy Bridgewater, who's perfectly named for the job of a bridge quarterback. He wouldn't be a starting bridge quarterback. He'd be a bridge among the reserves. You could talk about Taylor Heineke. You could talk about, I mean, basically any mid-level guy who wouldn't command a $15 to $20 million contract like Jimmy Garoppolo will. That's why Garoppolo is considered to be out of the price range. The reason they were able to afford Garoppolo this past year as a backup is because he came in on an incentive-based deal to where he wouldn't get paid unless they really needed him as the starter, and they did need him. But he didn't end up making most of those incentives because a lot of them were loaded toward the playoffs, and Garoppolo got hurt before then. It's unlikely that Jimmy Garoppolo will have to take that kind of deal this year because he's not coming off of an offseason surgery, and the 49ers no longer have contractual control over him, so he can negotiate freely with other teams. Who should the 49ers trade, or who should they trade for? It's a good question. You know, like my question's a good one. You have to differentiate there a little bit for me. Kenny Hamilton asks, what are some legitimate trade possibilities, contract restructures to help with cap space? You know, trade possibilities, we can cook up Fantasyland trades just like people in the Boston media all day. But you have to consider it from both sides, right? The people that made up this Deebo Samuel trade rumor didn't quite think through the 49ers perspective, which centered around the fact that there'd be $28.5 million in dead cap money for the 49ers if they did trade Deebo Samuel. So that didn't work. I'm not going to get into potential trade possibilities because there's so many permutations. We can go crazy talking about those. I think trades are better to react to instead of propose, because this is not Madden. This is not, it's not just a unilateral decision. Both teams have to agree to them. And that's why stuff can be surprising and a little bit complicated. That being said, cap restructures, those, contract restructures for the cap, those could be a little easier to predict. Last year, we definitely predicted Armstead. We definitely said Kittle could be somebody who restructured his contract for salary cap savings in the near term for the 49ers. Same kind of deal this season. You look at players who are fundamental fixtures who haven't been restructured yet. You convert that base salary into signing bonus. And with that, you create cap space in the near term, and it's worth it and it's safe because you trust that player to be around and productive for the long term. So you could essentially pay him on the salary cap later. For that, Christian McCaffrey makes a whole lot of sense. Christian McCaffrey has a $12 million base salary this coming season. So all you do is take that base salary down to the league minimum for veterans, somewhere between 1 and 1.5 million. The rest of it, you prorate over the rest of the years of Christian McCaffrey's contract. You can tack on a void year or two, and boom, his cap hits down to $4 to $5 million. You have opened up $7+ million in space by restructuring Christian McCaffrey, a player who you consider a foundational piece. It's amazing. McCaffrey went from rental to foundational piece, but when they did rent him, they did envision that he would be a foundational piece. They just had to see it happen in front of their own eyes, and it certainly did this season. So I think that he would be the top candidate for a restructure that you speak of. What option do the 49ers have to replace Mike McGlinchey? Colton McKivitz is the best in-house option. His pass blocking efficiency score was actually better significantly than McGlinchey's this year. It was actually on par with Trent Williams, but over a much smaller sample size. Williams was an excellent pass blocker in the top run blocking tackle in football by PFF grade. McKivitz not nearly as good in the run blocking, but pass protection wise, he was good over his snaps with the 49ers this season. That, is something that I wrote about in the State of the 49ers offensive line piece, which is definitely something that we could get up onto the screen right now to help answer the question here from Club Dubs. Why don't we look at the chart that evaluates 49ers offensive linemen? Oh, that's not cap. We go from that to this. By the way, those of you just joining, let's watch one more time. It's just too funny.
A-P. Cap.
It's got to be the funniest thing I've ever seen on the internet. And I'm going to play it so many times this year whenever there's a bad 49ers rumor. Okay, anyway, here's the question. What options do the 49ers have to replace McGlinchey? Take a look at their offensive line metrics and our State of the O-line piece. Look at McKivitz. Over 71 snaps, 98.4 pass blocking efficiency, well above average, better than even Trent Williams, worse than only Jake Brendel, who was really good this year at the tackle position. So McKivitz would be an in-house option. Think better than Jalen Moore, who had the worst pass blocking efficiency on the 49ers. If you want to look outside the team, there's been some talk of Caleb McGarry, who's been with the Falcons, being a free agent pickup that'd be cheaper than a McGlinchey. Yeah, I'm not so sure. Anybody in free agency is going to be decently expensive. So if you think somebody's going to be a better fit, better player at a lower price, you go for it. But they really like Mike McGlinchey. They like his run blocking capabilities. They like the fact that his pass blocking has improved. As you can see, McGlinchey is in the blue here, light blue, but still the blue. He's been above average in pass blocking for 2 seasons now. So a potential replacement would have to be significantly cheaper, but just as good in pass protection, which is why I ask, how much do they believe in Colton McKivitz? Smaller sample size, but I do know there is some belief from the 49ers. Do I think it's realistic to trade for Chase Young? Well, ask Washington if they think it's realistic to trade Chase Young, right? It's stuff like that where it has to be a two-sided thing. And a lot of fans will say, hey, I want this player. Why don't we trade for him? Well, That's what the Boston people said about Deebo Samuel, but the 49ers wouldn't be interested in trading him because of the $28 million dead cap hit. I don't know what the thinking in Washington is surrounding Chase Young, but that's why we have to sit back and wait and see who actually gets traded, because both teams have to be willing to move certain players. Although this would be fun, bring Joey Bosa to the 49ers with his brother. We saw Joey Bosa wearing some 49ers gear during the playoffs. I got to meet Joey at the 49ers Cowboys game. Very, very mild-mannered guy, as you would expect, off of the field. When he gets on the field and he starts getting upset over blatantly terrible officiating, well, not as mild-mannered, but I understand from Joey Bosa's perspective. Who do I think the biggest free agent signing the 49ers will make? Question is what position they decide to go for. So we talk about the fact that last year the big fish was Charvarius Ward. They needed cornerback help leaving the NFC Championship game. Have they left this season thinking that they're going to need defensive tackle help? Are they more into grabbing O-line help because of the uncertain futures of Mike McGlinchey and Jake Brendel? That's the big question. But I think, I'm leaning defensive tackle. I think there's a lot of man strength that's going to be available in free agency. I think you're going to trust that more than a lower round draft pick. Maybe you don't get Javon Hargrave. Maybe he's going to be too expensive, too old at 30 to justify that much money for. But guys like Dalvin Tomlinson, David Onyemata, Deron Payne, you talk about potential players who will be available on the interior this year, and the 49ers have a pronounced need there. That may be where they decide to open the checkbook and create that open checkbook through some restructures, because if you can pair a good dominant interior rusher with Nick Bosa, you're cooking with gas if you're the 49ers defense. Let's move down to a quarterback question right here. Assuming Trey has a solid camp and Brock comes back toward the regular season healthy, who do you picture starting given those circumstances? Do you see the circumstances going differently? Well, if Trey has a solid camp and Brock is not back yet, then Trey's going to start the regular season. But we cannot fall into the trap, the assumption that quarterbacks are just going to stay healthy and everything's going to stay put as is throughout the course of the season. This 49ers quarterback room has had a record amount of injuries under Kyle Shanahan, and injuries are part of the sport. And the 49ers realize they need to have as deep of a quarterback room as possible, similar to a running back room, to weather the storm of a season. They went through 4 quarterbacks this past year. They better be ready to have to go to their second guy again this year. So Purdy doesn't participate in camp, but is available for the regular season. Hell yes, Trey Lance is going to start that regular season, but you can't write anybody off just because of the injury history that has afflicted this position with the 49ers. Michael has been a Niner fan since Montana, and he thinks that Trey Lance will be the starter this season. I think he's really talented, and I think that people are being way over dramatic about Trey Lance. We haven't seen enough of him. There's no reason to believe that the 49ers have just lost faith in him based on play, because there hasn't been enough play from which to draw a sample. They obviously are frustrated that he's gotten hurt. They might have contributed a bit to that by running him so many times, but that was the deal with the devil that the 49ers signed, right? Trey Lance was inexperienced. By thrusting him into the lineup, if Kyle Shanahan wasn't fully comfortable with him throwing yet, the deal was going to be he's going to have to run more. Running more is going to expose you more to some hits. One of those hits fractured his ankle. So the key is to use this offseason to get Trey Lance closer up to speed to what the 49ers need to be able to run the Brock Purdy playbook with him. So you could have interchangeable playbooks with those two quarterbacks. And if that's the case, and if Purdy comes back and is decently healthy, you're actually not in a bad spot if you're the 49ers. You have 2 talented QBs, one of them proven, one of them not proven. I think Purdy's proven himself here over this past year, but one of them, Trey Lance, has not proven himself. But you have 2 guys, affordable rookie deal. You see what happens. You have option power. The 49ers have been all about option power at the QB position. I don't think that the Raiders would take Lance for Crosby. I mean, Max Crosby is one of the best edge rushers in the game. Edge rushers are QB neutralizers. See, I mean, we can propose these trades like video games all day long, but until we know what the Raiders are thinking, and also until we know what exactly the 49ers are thinking, it could be a fool's errand. Mike says, why would the Raiders trade Crosby? Good point. He's a foundational piece for the Raiders. We can't live in fantasy land with some of these trades. I'm still doing my late evening videos. It's a bit later for me. It's 11:45 p.m. here in the Central Time. But the thing is, there's just not a lot of news right now. So I'm going to bring you fact versus cap, those kind of videos, fact or cap, I guess I should say. I'm going to bring you news updates. We'll do Q&As. But this is the dead period. But I'm going to the NFL Combine. I'm going to go to the NFL owners meetings. I'll obviously be covering the draft from the 49ers facility. I'll be at rookie mini camp. I'll be at OTAs. So there's going to be plenty of video content. It's just that we're not going to be as full bore here between now and free agency, essentially. NFL Combine is going to be fun. But yeah, I love giving you guys all the video content that I can. Don't make deals with the devil, says somebody. It's not a good idea. 49ers are in between a rock and a hard place, I think. Shanahan being as particular as he is with quarterbacks, with Trey Lance not quite ready to trust him with the full pass game plan, so he's running more. It was tough. And then he got hurt. You know, Hooper is interesting. Hooper would be a nice compliment. Not only a former Stanford tight end, he's a former Shanahan tight end, Austin Hooper. He played under Kyle with Atlanta in 2016, scored a touchdown in that Super Bowl that was part of the 28-3 lead for the Falcons. Then they blew it. Hooper, not as expensive as he once was, but probably still pricey. I mean, tight end 2 to have a plus guy, that is an ultimate luxury addition for the 49ers if they are to do that. I think defensive tackle is much higher on their list. O-line should be much higher on the list. As far as skill positions go, and I consider tight ends to be a skill position for the 49ers, they are loaded right now. And that's a good thing, but it also means that maybe you should prioritize your resources elsewhere. Garoppolo to Miami? Maybe we'll do a factor cap on that. Now, I don't know. Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be a free agent. Could sign anywhere. Mike McDaniel likes Jimmy Garoppolo, so possibly. We shall see. Dalvin Tomlinson's a really good player. He might be out of the 49ers price range. Depends what their price range is for defensive tackle. Depends on how much they prioritize that position. I personally think they should prioritize it heavily for Nick Bosa's sake. No, I'm not going to watch the XFL. I'm so footballed out. I'll talk about the 49ers. If something crazy happens, I'll flip on the highlights, but I don't think I'll be watching the XFL. I'm going to say I don't know what's going on with Verrett. He could still be in the early stages of his rehab, determining whether or not he wants to come back. So, I mean, you give the man some time. Tore his Achilles after all those season-ending injuries. It's got to be psychologically difficult to push through. But we will see if Verrett announces anything here in the coming days, weeks, months, or if the 49ers decide to re-sign him to another flyer deal. No risk kind of flyer deal like they did last year. It didn't really hurt them contractually when he got hurt. It obviously hurt the psyche of the team, but those guys all felt for Jason Verrett in the locker room. Jimmy and the Jets. Jimmy reunited with Robert Saleh. LaFleur's not there anymore, though. They had a Mike LaFleur. You're not going to gain any cap room by getting rid of Jimmy Garoppolo because he's not under contract for next year. You're not going to gain any cap room by getting rid of Eric Armstead because you're just going to create dead cap room. He's a foundational pillar, good football player, doesn't make any sense. To gain cap room, you're going to have to restructure somebody like Christian McCaffrey. I agree with the second half of what you're saying. 49ers need some solid O-linemen. They could really use some solid O-linemen, and they need help for Nick Bosa on the defensive line. Trey Lance for Lamar Jackson. These rumors are
AP Cap.
Armstead is indeed underappreciated. That is not cap. Oh, man. Who on the 49ers would you guess becomes a coach post-NFL career? Well, it's certainly, a lot of people back in the day were saying Richard Sherman, but it's so much harder to be a coach, and it pays less at the start, at least, than it does to become a TV personality. So if you know, want to go and have the ability to go the media route and you're a star player, it's usually the way you go. That's why you don't see as many star players, like top tier guys, end up being coaches later on, because it's a grind to be a coach. It is an absolute grind. So stars normally will go to TV because that's definitely more work friendly, more family friendly of a job. As far as 49ers player who could be a coach moving forward, I mean, Kyle Juszczyk is so smart that he would be a great offensive mind, I think, but I don't know if Kyle Juszczyk would want to do it. I think that he could go into any business that he wants after his career, continue making money and enjoy that more than the grind of lower level coaching. So it just depends on who's, cut out for wanting to embrace that kind of challenge work wise. So this is a question I have to think a little bit more about because, Tashawn Gibson, maybe. I have to think more about this question. I'll get back to you. Again, somebody said Fred Warner, but Warner's a star. He's going to be financially taken care of. You really want to be in a job where you have to show up at 4 a.m. and you leave at 1 a.m.? I think you want to hang out with your family. Warner, fairly freshly married, right? You end up having kids, and do you really want to do that coaching grind after you've been a star player? You don't see it happen all that often. Again, you see the TV life more often for some of these guys, and Warner's a good talker too. So still, I would hope a ways away from that conversation. Frank thinks this is the end of this iteration of the 49ers. They're letting their franchise QB walk. Jimmy G will be wistfully remembered as the seasons roll on. Well, they were already going to let it happen last year. Then they miraculously get him back. It's going to be tough to know exactly how this is going to go down. I see the argument from both sides, right? I see the financial structure argument where you say you can't pay a veteran QB that much money. We need the rookie deal guy because we're trying to maintain the most balanced, powerful roster in the NFL. Then I see the flip side of that, a whole lot of winning with Jimmy Garoppolo, a whole lot of losing with everybody else except for Brock Purdy. And maybe that except for Brock Purdy, that asterisk at the end has finally allowed the 49ers to have some confidence in moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo, because even when they did try to move on before, there wasn't a whole lot of confidence there. It was like, oh, well, I hope that Trey Lance plays well. We'll see. And, that was shaky through the start. Brock Purdy has now, with that roster that the 49ers were able to build through the fact that they had cap room because they weren't paying massive QB money, that roster supported Brock Purdy, and Brock Purdy supported that roster, and the 49ers stayed powerful. Can they perpetuate that moving forward is the question. Your concerns are valid because Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. He's won a lot. Now, I'm just here to report on the team. I'm here to wait and see how this is all going to turn out. Is it a risk? Of course it's a risk. Is there potential upside? Hell yes, there's potential upside. Is there potential downside? Yep, there also is potential downside. The upside is that you're not paying the quarterback room a lot of money, so you can bring back guys like Bosa. You can clear space, maybe get a big-time defensive tackle, keep that roster as balanced as possible, and go for a Super Bowl with QBs like Purdy and Lance on the roster. That's the bet. We'll see if the bet pays off for the 49ers. How likely is it that the 49ers re-sign Jimmy Ward? Well, if he wants to be a safety to get safety money, that's going to depend on if Tashawn Gibson retires or not. If Gibson doesn't retire and re-signs with the 49ers for another year, Jimmy Ward's probably going to sign as a safety elsewhere. If Gibson doesn't re-sign with the 49ers and safety's open, there's a chance the 49ers pay Ward enough money to man the safety position for them. I think that's the variable, and I don't know which way it's going to break at this moment. See, I don't really agree here. I don't think that a better number 2 cornerback is that high up on the 49ers priority list. Deommodore Lenoir was damn good to end the season. He was an interception machine there. Two picks in the playoffs. The 49ers gave up between Lenoir and Charvarius Ward 2 catches for 16 yards against the Eagles. And Jalen Hurts threw for over 300 against Kansas City. Lenoir was confident, playing well, and Charvarius Ward is obviously stud on the other side. Plus, the 49ers can go back and probably get Emmanuel Mosley on a flyer deal this year coming off the ACL tear. I think that cornerback acquitted itself well this past season. I don't know if this is that high of a priority. Last year it was. Cornerback one was a massive priority. They had to make sure that they addressed that leaving the NFC Championship game. I don't see it the same way this year. You think, yeah, Verrett could be a guy as a coach. I didn't even think about that. But we'll see if his playing career is done yet. I don't want to write Jason Verrett off. He's shown way too much resilience coming back from all those injuries over the course of the season. Okay. See, these are takes I don't get. Trey Lance struggles reading the defense. They need to trade him. All right, if that's the case, why would anybody want to trade for him? Right? I mean, this again, it's not Madden with all trade rules turned off. You have to find takers for everything. And plus, by the way, factor cap trying to trade Trey Lance would be the most absurd thing the 49ers could possibly do, given the fact that just over 2 weeks ago, they ran into one of the greatest injury catastrophes of all time in NFL history when they ran out of quarterbacks. This is not a team that's in position to be jettisoning healthy QB talent. They need more talent at QB. They just ran out of them. It was a nightmare. They're not going to be trading them away. The only way that you would trade somebody like Lance away is if a quarterback came back in return. And I don't think that the 49ers are close to being ready for that yet because they just don't know what they have with Lance yet. He's just been hurt too often. Frank Gore Jr. is a junior in college this year. Southern Miss, right? For Frank Gore Jr. I think they would only trade Lance for 2 firsts and a QB. I think you'd have to add a QB in there. They just can't whittle down the QB room right now. Like it already got completely decimated, and they're trying to rebuild the quarterback room right now. So Eric Gomes has it right. They're trying to go strength in numbers at that quarterback position. Joe Montana has 2 sons playing quarterback. Okay. I don't know if that's going to work out for the 49ers purposes. I'm pretty sure they're already done playing quarterback. At least one of them, Nate's way past college. With Gibson and Ward potentially leaving, is Hufanga a potential liability? I think Hufanga is Hufanga. I think he's obviously, congrats to him, all-pro player, still working on some aspects of his game. We heard the Texans GM, when they hired DeMeco Ryans, talk about how well Ryans was able to accentuate Hufanga's strengths and hide his weaknesses. I think we all know what his weaknesses are. His eyes can get stuck in the backfield. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. He's an instinctual player. He relies on those instincts. He crashes plays near or behind the line of scrimmage with great frequency. But sometimes those instincts can serve him incorrectly, and it leaves an opening on the back end. How much of Hufanga's errors, how many of his errors were erased by players like Tashaun Gibson on the back end? I'm not sure that many were. I think that Hufanga was legitimately good this past year, and he's got to continue to develop. And I think that if they don't get Gibson or Ward back, then the 49ers have to make sure that they have a good contingency at safety, because it always takes 2 good safeties for a solid secondary to operate. No. Oh, Super Bowl 54. Oh, yeah. If the 49ers had McCaffrey in 54, they would have beaten the Chiefs. Just look at the offense with McCaffrey. Number 1 offense in the NFL, DVOA by a lot. And that was with Garoppolo at quarterback and Purdy at quarterback. So in Super Bowl 54 against the Chiefs, 2019 season, give the 49ers McCaffrey. That's probably the number 1 offense. I think the 49ers beat the Chiefs in that game. As it stood, they were the number 2 defense and about the number 7 or number 8 offense in 2019. A quick boost up to number 1 offensively would have done the trick. Ellingsworth wants Heineke, but I'm not sure because Heineke's already has some starting experience, might command some money. It's hard to know. Here's a question. Can people have faith in John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and quit with the trading Trey Lance talk? Kid is only going to get better when he's healthy. Yeah, I think people are way over dramatic with Trey Lance, and the 49ers are the last team in the universe that should be in the business of trying to jettison a quarterback right now. I mean, did you all not see what happened in Philadelphia? It was a downright catastrophe on the quarterback injury front. They ran out of them. So you can't get rid of them when you ran out of them. This is a good question. How much money in the cap goes to the rookies they will be drafting? I have to add that up, but I could actually look it up right now. Let's see. 49ers rookie pool over the cap. We can see what the answer to your question is. The 49ers' current draft picks, their rookie pool size is $8.5 million. And the 49ers have $8.5 million in space as we speak right now. So that means they're going to have to free up some room because you need buffer room and they also need to sign free agents. So $8.5 million to sign the 49ers draft class. It isn't overly expensive for having 10 picks projected because they don't have first or second rounders, which are more expensive than third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounders. The further you get in the draft, the less money each pick is slotted for. Smash that like button. Hell yeah. Would you rather see the Niners trade their thirds to move up for an impact player, or do you think that they can get 3 contributors of those picks so they stand pat? Well, that's the glory of having a good scouting department. I know they lost Rand Carthon, but the goal is to be able to get value out of the lower round picks. Now, if they really like somebody, it's when you package and move up. I'm just not sure how far they can move up. You got lower third round picks. The comp picks are the very end of the third round. So even just moving up into the second round would be pretty damn pricey for the 49ers. Thank you, Jared. I don't know. Dalvin Tomlinson, Deron Payne. I'm listing defensive tackles. Juwan Hargrave. There's a lot. There's going to be some talent on the interior line. But I think that, more realistically, they go for a bargain bin defensive end. Maybe somebody like Justin Houston, 34-year-old. That's the type of free agent that I think might be able to push the 49ers over the top. Mike says no more running backs in the third round and he'll be fine. Good point. 49ers haven't announced any front office reorganizations yet, so I don't know how they're going to do director of player personnel. They're probably going to announce all that along with the new coaches. That's the bigger news that I expect within the course of the next week or so. Just because Stidham had one good game, I don't think should endorse the idea of the 49ers trading for him. I mean, come on. Stidham looked great against the 49ers when they weren't really ready for him. They underestimated him. What happened to him against the Chiefs the next week? That was ugly. Armstead already did restructure. I don't think that you people sometimes understand what a restructure is. Eric Armstead's contract is fine. Eric Armstead is a foundational player for the 49ers. Fair deal, was significantly cheaper than DeForest Buckner, which was part of that whole calculus. He's played inside and out. Last year, the 49ers recognized he was a foundational player, so they restructured his deal. They converted base salary to signing bonus. That allowed them more money to fit other players. And because of that, Armstead has a bigger cap hit, $24 million this year. They just decided to pay him on the cap later because they knew he was going to be on the team anyway. So no, he can't restructure because he's already restructured. And this is not a problem that people are making it out to be. So in response to Armstead needs to restructure, we can go ahead and say this.
C-A-P. Cap.
This is going to get so overplayed this entire season, but it's too good. I'm thinking about those of you following me on Twitter. Whenever I don't want to, my main thing is I don't want to validate these stupid rumors that are out there because I feel people just want Twitter clicks. And I have a big audience on Twitter. There's like 91,000 of you on there. So the minute that I retweet somebody putting out a BS report, they get more followers and they don't deserve those followers. So I think a better option would be, if for those of you who follow me on Twitter, whenever there's a crazy rumor, instead of like directly acknowledging it, I should just post that video. I should just post the cap video. If you think that's a good idea, you could give me a thumbs up in the comment section right now, or just say, yes, that's a good idea. I'm trying to think of creative ways to use social media to allow people to know what's true and what's not without amplifying the people who don't deserve to be amplified. Yeah. Hey, I'm being a good sport. It was just funny. You put some stuff up there. I get to put the cat video. Thanks for commenting. I don't know your name. I just see your initials. So thank you. Appreciate everybody. Frank is a big Jimmy G guy. Fair. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is a really good quarterback. The third down numbers, especially, he's second in efficiency to only Patrick Mahomes since 2017. If Shanahan is not correct in his gamble that he can yield good quarterback play from the other options that he has on his team, or at least one of them in Brock Purdy, if he's not correct, it's going to look really bad in the future. It's going to be bad for Shanahan. Shanahan is betting that he can get this kind of production efficiency from Brock Purdy. That's the gamble. We'll see if he is right. Gannon to the Cardinals. Gannon, man, that guy was being a little cocky before the 49ers-Eagles game. We saw that video on my show this morning. I think Arizona's knee-jerk reacting, right? They had an offensive coach, didn't work out with Cliff Kingsbury. Now you take a defensive mind, keep him in Arizona after the Super Bowl. And then we'll see how Jonathan Gannon does with the Cardinals. I just, think the NFC West, it's the 49ers and the Seahawks, and the other two teams are significantly below them. The Rams in cap hell, deteriorating roster. The Cardinals don't really know what they're doing, it seems like. We'll give Jonathan Gannon a chance. But right now, the Seahawks are actually in decent retooling position. They have those first-round picks from the Russell Wilson trade. They had an up-and-coming roster this past year. You have to look out for Seattle. I think this is a Seattle-San Francisco division for the time being. Did you guys see that lightning, by the way? Thunderstorm here in Nashville. Sometimes if you see my face illuminate. You guys hear that? That's some thunder right there. I'm a California guy. So anytime I hear thunder, I get like chills because I don't hear it very often. It just feels so powerful. You guys hear that? Maybe the mic is only picking stuff up that's close to me, but that is a long, thunderous roar. I'm not going to be able to go to sleep. I'm going to have to wait for this thunderstorm to pass. Good news for those of you who want this live to be longer. Snowstorm in Iowa. Oh, it looked like it was cold in Kansas City for their parade today. Midwest, having a snowstorm. Cold and clear here. Where would that be? California? Is it cold in California? I'll be back in a little bit in California. It'll be exciting time. I just need a palate cleanser. It's good to get out of California so you fully appreciate it when you get back. Right now is that time of the off season where I don't have to be in California. Pretty great. Pretty great. When I'm back in California, we're going to eat so much good food on this channel. It's going to be awesome. I'm planning to show you around some more Nashville food. I just have been busy setting up the studio. Somebody was wondering the other day what Raiders jersey is behind me. That's not a Raiders jersey. That's Rudy. That's Rudy Rudiger. That's like Rudy, the actual Rudy from Notre Dame. Joe Montana's teammate, actually. But the movie Rudy. But the real Rudy that was portrayed in the movie. He signed the jersey. Frank Gore signed the other one. So that's the studio that I've set up. Somebody was joking the other day that it looks like I'm in 4K. It's in 1080p by request. We got better audio right here, right? Hello. Does that sound good? What? I wonder how close to the mic I should talk, because I think if I'm this close, it'll sound even better. But at the same time, I don't want to be one of those shows where they just like stick the mic up in the host's face and you can't see their face because the mic is in front of them. I don't think that's the aesthetic that I'm going for. So I try to get it close here so the audio is as good as possible, but not too close so that I don't want this to look like a podcast. I feel this is just me talking to you. It's like sitting at the bar with Lombardi, kind of thing. That's kind of the idea. You just want to sit here, chill. We're at the sports bar. We got jerseys in the background. Ask your 49ers questions, drink your water or your beverage of choice, and go from there. Well, if Brandon Graham is available, he would be. But I mean, these are good veteran players that might command a lot of money, and the Eagles are certainly going to try to keep some of them. So They had a great pass rush this year. They're going to do what they can to keep it together. Quincy, California. That's where Feather River Community College is. Quincy. That's on the Feather River. That is northern Sierra Nevada mountain range. I mean, we're talking north of Sacramento, north of Chico, or at least east of Chico. I think it's Highway 70 is going to wind along the Feather River. What is it? Plumas County? Is it Plumas County? Am I right? Cool. Didn't realize the internet went all the way to Quincy. Just poking fun at you. When you're from Visalia, when you're from a rural part of California, you can make jokes like that. I've never been to Quincy. I've heard it's absolutely beautiful up there. Would like to head up to Quincy. Oroville. Nice. That's not far from Quincy. Cool stuff. Butte County. Oh, it's Butte. Is Oroville's in Butte County? Quincy's not in Plumas. Reuben Smith is from Visalia. Of course I know Wood Lake. Wood Lake, California. If you're in Visalia, you're going to Sequoia Park, take a little detour, go through Wood Lake and go to Super Taco. Thank me later. We're going to do a lunch with Lombardi from Super Taco at some point this off season. It is the truth in Wood Lake, California. Super Taco in Wood Lake, California. One of the best taco shops in the state of California. The Combine is coming up in a couple weeks. I'll be in Indianapolis. And I think that's where the discussions about whether or not to re-sign Robbie Gould are really going to heat up. That's what, at least according to Robbie Gould, that's what he told me. So 49ers are going to be talking about that during the Combine. Yeah, Plumas County. I guessed the county right. Oroville is in Butte County, but Feather River, Quincy is in Plumas. Good. We got Super Taco fans on here. Yeah, I've been to Super Duper is a local Bay Area chain. I believe they're in the Chase Center as well, but you've got one in the Marina. You have one where you're talking about the Metreon. It's a good burger. There's a Super Taco in Visalia now. Yeah, but I got to go to the Wood Lake one. Where's the one in Visalia? You got to go to the Wood Lake one. It just almost seems like blasphemy to eat Super Taco in Visalia. Okay. Do you have any 49ers questions, or are we just going to be talking about Super Taco and county seats in remote parts of California? I mean, this is cool. Somebody's in Hawaii. I like that. Been out to Hawaii only once in my life. I'm going to go to the Caribbean for the first time in April. It looks like Turks and Caicos. Everybody on this side of the country, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee right now. They think that Hawaii is the most exotic thing because it takes forever to fly there. So when they do their island vacations, they go to the Caribbean. For me, the Caribbean's the most exotic thing because I'm in California, or I'm from California. So this time I finally get to check out the Caribbean. I'll report back, let everybody know how it is. It's on Riggin. Well, why they put Super Taco up on Riggin? It's like the very north side of Visalia. That's like close to Wood Lake. I mean, it's only like 10 minutes from Wood Lake at that point. They should have put it on the south side. All right. Does Brandon Ayuk have a fifth-year option? Yes. Brandon Ayuk has a fifth-year option. He is going to be, it could be exercised in May. Right? Yeah, it could be exercised in May. So does Kinlaw. Kinlaw and Ayuk can both have their fifth-year options exercised in May. So I don't think Kinlaw will have his exercised. Ayuk will, and I think it's going to be like, I want to say 17 million. I think $17 million for Brandon Ayuk. Salt Lake City here for John. Cool. I think Wilkes will be a good help for Talanoa Hufanga. Wilkes, DB coach background as a defensive coordinator. I mean, Hufanga, let's appreciate the rise of Talanoa Hufanga. Second year, fifth round draft pick, now an all-pro. I mean, are you kidding me? All pro, pro bowler. Even if you think a lot of that's hype, a lot of that is real improvement, big time instinctual play from Talanoa Hufanga. So, yes, he still has more to work on in his game. And I think that Steve Wilkes will be good for that. But let's not pretend like there's Talanoa Hufanga is a problem for the 49ers out there. He's an all pro for the 49ers on the back end. 17 million isn't bad for a receiver. Just think of the contract for receivers. What Deebo Samuel was, then he ended up being 19 million per year. So that's just that one-time cost. The cap is going up every year, and the 17 million wouldn't take hold until 2024, and you'd have a chance to extend Brandon Ayuk before then to get away from that number for the 1 year. Similar to Bosa, who has the high number, I think 17 or 18 million this year. But with the extension, they could actually lower his cap hit. Can Bosa justify a fully guaranteed contract? That'd be crazy. I don't think that any position outside of quarterback can justify it, not because the players aren't good, but because the injury rates are so much higher. Bosa's already torn his ACL once. He's colliding with guys on every single play. I just don't think that that's feasible to give out in the NFL at this point. Jawan Jennings is not under contract right now, but he's an exclusive rights free agent, which means he can negotiate only with the 49ers. So they don't have to give him a lot of money. He'll gain more rights next year as a restricted free agent. But even though Jennings isn't under contract, the 49ers, if they want, and I think they'll want to, will be able to keep him for next season. That'd be awesome to be on the Pat McAfee show while I'm at the combine. It's a great idea. Gonna have to hit those guys up. Yeah, somebody says they like Jennings better than Bourne. He's a better blocker than Bourne. That helps. Really, Bourne might be cut in New England. Crazy. Mike's on top of all this stuff. Garoppolo to the Raiders for 80 million? I have no idea. I saw Emmanuel Mosley a lot. He said he was feeling good. We'll probably get another update around the time of the NFL Combine when we talk to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. I think they have to have a line in the sand for McGlinchey's price. If Mike McGlinchey is more than 12 or 13 million a year, I think that might be where the line in the sand is. Maybe it's higher. I don't know, but they have to have a line in the sand for the price. Rob Havenstein was 12.5 million. Jack Conklin was 15 million. I think McGlinchey is going to be somewhere in between those two, but if it's a really hot market for that right tackle position, he could push that 15 million, even surpass it. And I think the 49ers wouldn't be willing to go past that. Now, how much faith do they have in Colton McKivitz? Because he was a really good pass blocker in just 71 snaps this past year. If there's faith in McKivitz, that line in the sand for McGlinchey is going to be much lower, right? So we'll see how the 49ers feel about all this. All right, so I am going to cut this off at 49 minutes because this is a show about the 49ers. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It's been fun. It's been a nice 49ers Q&A. Check out Factor Cap, Deebo Samuel. I'm not going to play the Cap video again on this show. Don't worry. I don't want to overuse it too early in the show. But check that out. Check out, you should definitely tune in for the Lombardi 8 a.m. scramble. 8 a.m. Pacific time every single day. Day 3 is tomorrow. There's a regular show. We're talking 49ers football, 8 a.m. Pacific. It's called the Lombardi 8 a.m. Scramble. So be sure that you're all over that tomorrow. Thursday. It's Thursday here already. So today, but Thursday, the Lombardi 8 a.m. Scramble is when I'll see you next. Thank you, everybody. We will talk to you very soon. Bye now.